Hey folks, this is Ben Gessel. How's it going? Yep, I am having a little bit more time to relax. Um, try to, I know I gotta be at it, working hard soon. So today is relaxed day, and then I think for the most part even tomorrow. But then I'll get back into the swing of things here soon. Anyway, I wanted to make this video about, not about religion per se, but about um, a lot of things that go with certain religions, um, or at least, at the very least, things that remain in my psyche or my subconscious on some level. I'm not sure some part of my makeup that has some connection with Catholicism. I'm pretty sure I haven't gone into this as much as I'm going to go into this now. And this might be pretty interesting for you guys. Again, I'm not approaching this from a really religious, not really from a religious standpoint. Again, I might have made a video about this at some point in the past, but I know what I'm gonna say is is stuff that I haven't really talked about before. It might seem like I'm talking about religion or supernatural stuff, but in another way, not really so much. It's really just stuff that is primarily connected with Catholicism in my understanding or estimation. That is just kind of something that is in my mind. It's buried deep in my mind somewhere. It's hard to explain. Okay, here we go. Um, in my life, I've had friends that are Catholic. I've known people who are Catholic, but we've never really talked about this stuff. And I've seen movies like The Omen, and I've seen other movies that are of somewhat different natures. Oftentimes, you're talking about this genre of movies. We're talking about demons and demonic possession and stuff like that. You're going to be often involving the Catholic Church. Um, yeah, more or less. And there's all that side to what is in my mind from media. That's been more the case my adult years. Um, but there's something else that it's hard to narrow this down. This has something to do with the I don't know if I want to use the word icons. I guess I'll use icons. I don't like the using the word idols, like IDOL. That's one of the things that people use to sometimes attack Catholics. Yeah, I know. But just images, icons, things to me that when I see them I have a certain feeling that I want to talk about a little bit, and things that are often associated with Catholicism or Christmas or some aspect of Christianity, or let's just say European culture in general, uh, kind of pan-European a little bit. Even if you're looking at countries specifically like Ireland versus Italy versus France or Germany or England or whatever. Okay, what are these kinds of things I'm thinking about here? Well, there's the Virgin Mary, obviously, and baby Jesus or Jesus as depicted in Catholic art, and Joseph and all the nativity stuff, as well as um, things like candy canes, even, which I know there's a connection with the shepherds, and there's all kinds of things about Christmas we just had that are always interesting to research because there are connections again with Christianity and with Catholicism and with paganism and European cultures in the past in general, and things that were very uh, much in the minds of, we'll just say, Europeans, but not just Europeans. It's other folks too that really like this stuff. Africa, Asia, whatever, South America, whatever, Central America, whatever. But it probably have their roots somewhere in Europe, at least. Um, and and many other, there's a lot. Just Christmas has a lot of different connections to a lot of different things, depending what you're talking about, like Christmas tree in Germany and pointing up toward heaven and the meaning of different colors and everything. And there's a whole different thing with Santa Claus and a lot of whatever and presents and oh, man, you just keep going, right? Okay, so but let's get back to other stuff here. I mentioned I've had teachers in school that were Catholic, who were great folks and friends, and that many of which weren't super really active in the Catholic Church, um, but I know about things like rosaries, which are kind of like prayer beads. I mean, it's a thing that is nice looking, little red things in it, some kind of necklace, and you can use it to pray. Do you need it to pray? No, but it's a nice thing to have, as far as I know. You know, I don't know. There are a lot of things that are also I know of that are um, meant to protect people or help protect them against evil spirits. I know this from a number of different sources, but mentioning this, it's definitely uh, seen Paranormal State. I've seen these little images of Michael the Archangel and stuff. And there's, other things. But without getting too much into some things in the Catholic faith, we're talking mainly about um, religious objects that can help protect folks. Um, there's That's all fine and good. It's interesting. There's a side to my mind that's intrigued by the idea of objects protecting people from evil spirits. Um, in a different culture, like say American Indian cultures, there's like things called dream catchers, right? They're meant to protect kids and other people from having bad dreams. So the idea of having objects protect you from something evil is interesting to me, and it's something that's in the back of my mind. But I'm often, I'm just gonna throw out other stuff here. I'm often intrigued by things like um, even Easter eggs, colored Easter eggs. Where did that come from? Where did that tradition come from? To me, colored Easter eggs. I don't know if I don't think it's Catholicism, but I know it has its roots in Europe in some respect. Um, you know, um, the idea of having uh, all the colors used are always very interesting to me in different churches. Catholicism definitely but see, in Europe and European cultures, as I probably mentioned before, um, we put a lot of stock in meanings of different colors, and so is the case in Asia. I think it's actually a worldwide thing, and this is one of the things from culture to culture and area to area of the world that you can say kind of helps define a culture is what they think about different kinds of colors or different kinds of whatever, you know. So there's that kind of more general kind of thing going on. Um, but there's also things like cherubs and making him look like Cupid. It's interesting because in the book of Genesis, there's discussions of using the words cherubim and seraphim regarding when the Garden of Eden was closed. And Adam and Eve were forced out of, basically had to leave the Garden of Eden, right? They're talking about cherubim and seraphim and a flaming sword kept to keep them from ever going in, back in again. Um, God made the rules for whatever reason. He said, "Nope, you guys can't. You have to go out into the lonely and dreary world, kind of thing. The, the world we live in." But what do they look like? And it's often like we have, so much of what to me is at least at a cultural level, but you could also get religious about it. But there's always a question of who does God look like, and what does we know more about what Jesus looks like, I suppose. And so, in my personal beliefs, Jesus probably definitely looks a lot like God because they are directly related, right? Anyway, but that's so. But cherubim and seraphim, what do they look like? Are they little baby human guys? Little are they adults? Are they little tykes? And they have little arrows and they have little wings? Do angels have wings? The idea of angels having wings is, um, very old concept, I suppose, because if they fly, you think anything that flies needs wings. Do they? Does a being need wings to fly? I don't know. In our natural world, yes, but anyway, that's a really old train of thought. I think people think about that a long time ago, long time ago. Since I don't know, since we were considering the idea of flying, which it's as old as Adam and Eve, like, but I don't know, like, so I can mention other things. There are objects certainly that are just Christian things like the cross, right? Which I don't even need to mention. That's more of a religious symbol, but not just because the cross is a pretty basic symbol. There are many other cultures that use those symbols in similar ways or whatever. But more to the point, I think, me personally, I've always um, felt some kind of level of awareness of these objects. And, you know, generally speaking, I've never felt like these sorts of objects were evil or bad or anything like that. Not like that at all. It's more, it's kind of like, and this is kind of, again, this might seem like more religious bent somewhat. I have to mention something about, at this point, about religion, I suppose. Myself personally, as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, again, it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS or Mormon, it's commonly known. Um, it's not that those objects are bad or evil or wrong. It's certainly not the case. If you have an image of an angel, Michael or Raphael or what's his name, Uriel, any of those four angels, and you guys talk about the four different angels, four different directions. I think sometimes Catholicism. Uh, I remember. I know about Michael and Uriel and is it Raphael or something like that. There's another guy. They all have L at the very end of their names because these are all essentially Jewish or Hebrew type origin. The names are not, kind of anyway. They're Israeli names, ending in L. But so yeah, obviously an image of those kinds of folks is fine. Oh, is it Samuel? No, Samuel is a demon. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to remember these names. But so yeah, it's have those objects. If I'm not since I'm not Catholic, I might see them more in a neutral vein. But there's also the other question of are do objects in themselves. Again, there's other objects that you talk about the shamrocks in Ireland that you're talking about Irish, something that's distinctly just Irish, doesn't necessarily have a connection with Catholicism. But you can talk about, flowers in general with the rosary, and they're very beautiful, and again the colors and stuff, red. Um, well, anyway, so these objects, do they have some kind of supernatural or something about them that goes beyond just being a simple object? Well, if you are Catholic, you definitely would believe that there's more to these things sometimes than just it being a simple object, and that to me makes perfect sense. Um, some things in particular, I think, are often described to having a lot of spiritual, supernatural power qualities. The question is, are they innate? Is it innate in that object, or is it something where it depends on the person, it depends on what they're doing. But as you guys are well aware of, holy water and crosses, yeah. Um, I just feel like there's other things I'm not thinking of here in this regard, but this is to my estimation, this is a worldwide thing. Many people, many different cultures have these sorts of objects that they kind of feel have these powers, and you don't even have to talk about the whole magic thing with the K at the end, right? We're definitely talking a lot about. It seems like we're talking about magic in that regard. We're talking about crystals and all that stuff, and I in this whole area, I prefer to talk more about fantasy rather than real magic, which I'm very, oh yeah, have a lot of reservations about, of course, but understandably, but it's just so that being all said, just going off of my own thoughts about this sort of thing, if someone were to give me some object that you can give just another person, and that object had a tradition in a Catholic Church, I'd probably accept it. You know, what's the harm in having something that is a nice thing to have? I just different train of thought here. I bought a little. It's not a Buddha thing, but like a little chubby little happy looking guy. And when I was in Hawaii, I think it probably had some kind of connection with a Asian religion of sorts or tradition. It was a chubby guy who was smiling, and I, for lack of not knowing anything better, I suppose it was Buddhist. I've had that little object, a little thing I bought in Oahu. I've had it for a long time. In addition to that, I've had. I know I have other things that are like this. My brother Andrew went to Africa and got like a little um, wood statue of a person. And I don't know if it has any religious significance. Um, again, I know I have other things like that. Wood carvings or something, you know, jewel or like jade, or I don't know. But I don't really have a lot of this stuff. And I've never really put too much stock in thinking consciously about these objects as having any other qualities than just something aesthetically interesting or something that might fuel the imagination. Which we're talking about when we talk about this kinds of stuff. It's fuel for the imagination. And filmmakers knew this when you went into a Catholic church and you see images of Jesus and Virgin Mary and whoever else, angels, and you look at their eyes, and there's, if they're statues or if they're very lifelike, you know, and you're alone in the church, and yeah, you know what I'm talking about. This is classic scary stuff, right? It is a little bit, can be a little unnerving to kind of having all these beings looking at you, or the idea of these beings being alive or being somehow this whatever statue. The idea is it's supposed to help you feel closer to the Lord, right? Naturally, right? These are good beings, and and the old idea in Europe, these cathedrals, the gargoyles that looked not so nice were on the outside of the church, and they're meant to keep the evil spirits away. I get that, I do. It's just that again, it's like you wonder if you're being watched, maybe by some of these statues, and it's the idea if eyes actually move, that can be terrifying. You know, you don't want to be terrified at church. It's an interesting thought, at least. Just to be fair, though, let me give you guys a little bit of something that's a similar train of thought. At the MTC, at least when I was in the MTC, this is the Missionary Training Center in my church in Provo, Utah. There's a painting of Jesus it was, I think, specifically made this way so that if you were, and it wasn't like a holographic thing, or it wasn't like something actually, no, it was not like that. But because of the way it was painted, Jesus's eyes followed you whichever direction you went by this painting. And that was specifically there were reasons why this painting was made the way it was. Now, obviously, it's like, you could say, well, that's like, that could be a little scary, right? Sure. I can tell you other things about the MTC, but the thing is, well, this can really result in all kinds of trains of thought, if you think about it. You can always, like even things like, are we afraid of Jesus's gaze? And I mean in real life, like when we actually see him again, will we be not wanting to look in his eyes? That's definitely a big train of thought, and I guess there's that subconsciously we're kind of wondering about that even when we see statues of Jesus, or of angels, or prophets, or Virgin Mary, or Mary, the mother of Jesus, whatever, or Joseph, or or are we afraid of some other being that may be evil that can somehow inhabit the statue or whatever it is that we're talking about? The funny thing about fear is you can fear the gaze of a being who sees whatever is in you that is amiss. You can fear that. That's definitely a legitimate fear, right? We want to be better. We hate the fact that that's the other kind of fear, of course, is understandably the fear of an evil being who's looking into our soul, and we immediately feel that evil, and we fear the evil because that evil is out to destroy us, right? So on the one hand, a godly being will see whatever is amiss in us, and that's not a great feeling. And then on the other hand, it's an evil being who's looking at us, and we just immediately feel and sense that evil, immense evil sometimes, in that other being. And many of us don't like to be looked at. Many of us avoid gazes to begin with. We don't, we're dealing with our own feelings and thoughts so much of the time. So with regard to at least the statue thing, and there are other statues in other churches like this, not just Catholic churches, but, on some level, at the visitor center in Salt Lake City, there's images of Jesus right there at the visitor center, and he has his palms outstretched, and you can see the nails, the holes in his hands, or where the nails were. I don't know if they're holes, but you can see the imprint of the nails in his hands. I don't know. It's been a while, but anyway, that's the visitor center, Salt Lake City, and if you were in the visitor center all by yourself and you're watching his gaze, would you be afraid that all of a sudden his eyes would open, or his eyes would open, but his gaze would shift to you? That would be very unnatural. That would be scary. But if his gaze was godly, and of course it would be. If it was Jesus, you would feel like he was looking right through your soul. So that would be whatever. But at the same time, he would be godly, so you wouldn't fear him in another way. You definitely would love him. It gets deep. I wasn't planning on talking about this deep stuff, but just to reassure you guys, whatever anybody, most everybody has had some kind of visitation from an angel, prophets, other people in the scriptures, whatever. There's a fair bit of fear at first. It's not something that happens all the time for most people. Uh, but the angel, if it's an angel of the Lord, always reassures the person that it's gonna be okay. Don't fear, right? Now, of course, a demon can do the same thing. So how do you know if a being is angelic or demonic? It's the way you feel around. It's your feelings. It's That's always how it is. It's the way you know what someone's a prophet of God. It's the way you know if it's an angel or demon. It's your feelings. It's when you're looking in that being's eyes, and you sense the good or the evil from that being. It's something that you feel. It's a spirit. It's spiritual. It's of a spiritual nature. Feelings are both a physical and an emotional thing, chemical, but they're also a spiritual thing. Um, yeah, and but of course, in our doctrine in my church, an angel has a resurrected body, so you can actually shake hands with an angel. You can't really shake hands with a demon unless a demon is inhabiting the body of someone who's possessed. And that's one of the reasons they want to possess people so bad. They want bodies. So, yeah. Food for thought, right? Again, I wasn't planning on talking about theology so much. But I'm often intrigued by these images or icons that seem to keep coming back to me. Like they have some kind of significance. Whether it's aesthetic or a fantasy oriented thing or it's a cultural thing, my emotional whatever subconscious connections with Italy. Even I don't have Italian ancestry, but I love Italy, and of course, so whether it's something Italian in my understanding, or French or German or English or Scottish or Welsh or Irish or Spanish even, or Polish or Czech or something, Central European or whatever it is. Um, Dutch. I don't know. I don't know. I don't always know what it is about these different objects that's intriguing. I just know that they are intriguing. Some things. Um, and so this is one of the things that if a person is of the nature and temperament and disposition, whatever, to want to talk about this sort of thing, I could talk about this for a long time. It starts with objects and it always goes up to other stuff. But another way of looking at this is that I understand at some level that different cultures and different subcultures in different areas of like small areas, there are reasons why these objects have a lot of importance in these areas, especially over time. It's really worth it to think about why these objects are so significant to these different people in different places of the world. Try to get in their minds, their heads, their hearts somehow. It's always worth it to try to understand other people better, in my opinion. And it's also worth it to try to understand the unseen world better. Albeit, I think it's probably always healthier to go about this sort of thing in a way that avoids studying the occult. I'll put it that way. You want to avoid getting into magic and witchcraft, folks. I mean, I know so little about it, but whatever I do know, I'll just take Christopher Lee's word for it, right? There's some stuff online. Yeah, well, anyway. But I like mistletoe. Is mistletoe pagan? Like mistletoe is a Christian is a Christmas thing. Do you have to kiss somebody under mistletoe? Some of the stuff is there Celtic and Nordic. It's hard to remember. But whatever it is, mistletoe is very pretty. It's nice looking. So it's like mistletoe. So maybe for me it's more of an aesthetic importance, or the Yule log. I'm pretty sure Yule log stuff is Anglo-Saxon or it's Germanic or whatever, but whatever it is, I'm like, oh, I love fires, right? If it has some significance beyond that, I'm sure. I think it has. I know it's something having to do with. Yeah. Yeah. But I anyway. I'm gonna finish up this video. Leave me yeah, leave me your thoughts and comments below. Catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.